Hi, everyone. It's Henry DeVries from Agency Rainmaker TV. This is the show where we help agency owners make it rain, help them find right fit prospects. And with us today, a special guest, John St. James. And John is an author and he is a martial arts expert and he's an expert in team building and customer service. John, how are you today?
I am great, Henry. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. First, why don't we explain the who you help? Who do you help with your consulting?
My clients are all small business owners, and many of them, mostly my niche is martial arts school owners. So, if you would think of a small business owner, I help everybody that's trying to grow their business. I'm involved with them, trying to help them with customer service, but mostly with helping them to build teams, and it's specifically leadership teams. So, teams of leaders.
So, what do you do for them to help them with this build the leadership team?
That's a great question. Thank you. Yeah. So the first thing I do is I try to identify where they are. I try to figure out what their wants, their needs, their desires are. The second thing that I do after that is I sit down with them and I try to set goals with them to figure out where is it that they want to go. We build a value ladder. So, for those that may not be familiar, in the martial arts, everybody comes in as a basic student. And then from there, the goal is to develop a leadership team or a leadership academy. So I help actually my clients build leadership academies. And from there, they develop instructors. And then from their instructors group, they eventually, hopefully, train them to become business owners. And I help with that. We actually do business consulting. What I have found briefly is it doesn't matter who you're working with, really doesn't matter what industry you're working with. Everybody basically has the three pain points. And these three are everybody's looking for more clients or more members or more students or more sales. Number two, they're looking to retain their business longer. And then number three, they're all trying to maximize spend. They're trying to find ways to, you know, to gain more business. And sometimes that's just through upgrading, but oftentimes it's by bringing in more family members, more clients, whatever it's going to be.
Well, agency owners can certainly relate to that, John. Now, how do you make it rain for your business?
It's a great question. So back to identification. I want to identify my right fit clients. And after doing this for 40 years, I feel fairly comfortable with who I can help. So number one, I want to make sure that I can help the person. Number two, I relate. And obviously we do that in many ways. One way is we send out persuasive content. Another way is I get on a call and do a little bit of discovery process with the person to see what it is that they need. Number three, I try to share my story because quite frankly, I have a story like they do. Everybody does. And so, I relate with them that way, and that further builds the relationship. And then finally, I invite them in as a guest. Typically, it's to a Q&A, it's to a learn and share. It could be a free webinar. Um, but I've even invited people as guests to some of our events. And from there, we build the relationship even further so that they move from a cold prospect and then from a spectator, hopefully they go right to an action taker who raises their hand and says, "Hey, I'd like to learn more." And then from there, our goal is to get them on board as a client. So that's kind of how I do it, using mostly Q&As, learn and shares, and webinars.
Now, I know that you're also an author. Tell us about the book you wrote.
I am. Yes, thank you. So the book that I wrote is called The Master's Path: How to Intentionally Create More Happiness, Joy, and Fulfillment in Your Life. And this book really is about the journey, and it's the life journey from success to significance. And so we go through in the book a series of steps, right? Just like on a journey, every great journey begins with the first step. And step one is called, or phase one is called to learn and grow. You could call it the beginner level. because we know that all winners start as beginners. And in that area, by the way, it's the memory stage. It's where we're really starting to learn the knowledge, create the attitude that we need. So phase two is to share and serve. And so in phase two, we call it the apprenticeship level. You're actually taking the information that you've learned and you're applying it. And so for me, that was serving as an apprenticeship in a martial arts school in 1979 in San Diego, where I wasn't getting paid, but I was learning the craft. I was learning the craft. I was learning how to master the craft. And so in that stage, this is practical application. Again, we're applying the knowledge. And then that leads to the third phase, and that is to lead and inspire. And that's the phase that I focus on with most of my clients, which is, as you probably know, success comes with building teams. And so here's what I know. I know that 80% of leaders can attract followers. I know that for a fact. Most of my clients can attract followers. 15% of those leaders can attract leaders, only 15%. And only 5% can develop leaders. And that's the group, of course, I'm trying to work with the most are people who have learned how to develop leaders. And again, we use the Leadership Academy, the Instructor Academy to do that. And those are the individuals that will multiply success and eventually to experience explosive growth in their business.
That's great. Well, John, I see our time is almost up. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Just always a pleasure to share with you and with anybody else that has the interest. I would say if you haven't purchased the book, Amazon.com, you can get The Master's Path, How to Intentionally Create More Happiness, Joy, and Fulfillment in Your Life.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for being with us today. And until next time, make it rain.